So I ask you, Minister, to honour your party's commitment, the Taoiseach's commitment, other members' commitment that said, other people said, not one red cent would go into the banks until burden sharing was enforced. We can only hope today, because all of us would like to see that this is the final figure. We'd all love to see that the figure was reduced, but we'd like to know for sure that this was the final figure, because we've had many occasions in the past when we thought we drew a line in the sand, only to come back again. We were told last year that AIB didn't need any capitalisation. They passed the stress test. A couple of months later, they needed so much. Today, what do they need? About €16 billion. We were told Irish Life and Permanent TSB didn't have any problem. Today, we know that it's €4 billion. And there's a serious question about the stress test, and it's been alluded to by many commentators, and it's in relation to the scenarios that were used in the most adverse criteria. Because we have already met some of those scenarios, or very close to meeting some of those scenarios, particularly the unemployment rate, which is at 14.7%. This means that we're 0.2% of the worst situation that the central bank has used to deal with the capital ratio that is required within this bank. And that is the first crack. That is the first crack that scares the living bejesus out of us, that we will be back here in a couple of months when the European stress tests are done in June and they figure out that the criteria that was used was not stringent enough, didn't estimate this serious contraction that is happening in the Irish economy, and therefore the capital requirements are underestimated. Unemployment cannot be looked at in isolation. Unemployment means significant drops in income, because this is the area where they've really underestimated. It means significant drops in income. It means less bills are paid. It means drops in consumption and spending mortgages go into further arrears. And one figure can spell disaster for the whole model. One figure like this could potentially mean that the extent of the bank's liabilities is still unknown. So you can't draw a line in the sand today, because the winds keep blowing it away. And that is one of the big problems and big concerns that is there. Today, Minister, as the ordinary people of this state woke up to get on with their lives, this government put €3 billion of their money into Anglo-Irish Bank and Irish Nationwide. Now, OK, it was a promissory note that the previous government signed up to, but €3 billion, €2.53 billion into Anglo, a defunct bank, and €500 million into Irish Nationwide. And I think it's probably apt that the ghosts of the past bailout appear on the very day that we create new ghosts of the future. It is apt that the €3 billion for Anglo has happened on the same day, but it should never have happened. And this government should look at all options to see how we reduce the liability of that promissory note that was signed up to this government, that members in this cabinet jumped up and down in this chamber about the idea of injecting €30 billion over a 10-year period into Anglo and Irish Nationwide. But what have you said today, Minister? What have you said today? You have told us, as we already know, that the stress tests don't cover Anglo and Irish Nationwide. But you go further. You go further and you tell the chamber that if there is capital requirements needed, that the government will look at options and you will minimise the exposure to the Irish taxpayer. What does that mean? That there will be a minimum exposure, but there will be exposure, in your words, to the Irish taxpayer for a further capital requirement into Anglo and Irish Nationwide. Now, how the hell does Labour sit there on those benches, listening to you tell the Irish people that you are committed to looking at putting more money into Anglo and Irish Nationwide? It is a ridiculous situation. It is a ridiculous situation, and you haven't even said in this chamber that you will burn the senior unguaranteed bondholders in those institutions. Why is there no outcry? Joan, why is there no outcry today? What has happened? What has happened? Who has gagged you? Who has gagged you?
Deputy, will you
Who has gagged you?
Chair, please?
Who has gagged you?
Sorry, Minister, would you please refrain from...
Minister, yesterday you had the opportunity. You had the opportunity yesterday.
You just had the opportunity yesterday
on a private motion, our first opportunity in Sinn Féin, to place a private motion in this House to scrap the universal social charge and replace it with the system that was in existence prior to the December budget. All of you, including the Labour Party, voted to keep it there, voted to keep the tax on the working poor. What did it cost? What would it cost to revert to the old system? 420 million. A lot of money, but in comparison to the money that you are injecting into these defunct banks, it is a pittance. It is a pittance compared to what you have announced today. And that is the priorities that this government of both parties have now, that you have stolen the clothes of Michael Martin and Brian Cowan, and you are proudly wearing them on the government benches today with your smiles and all. And it is a sad situation to see people who articulated positions in this chamber so convincingly, so eloquently, which I believe came from their heart, to smile in that chamber today as the Minister announced that the bailout for the Irish banking sector is going to exceed €70 billion.
Now, Deputy, I'd ask you to finish up, please.
One of the big issues that have arisen, and I think the figures in relation to permanent TSB amplify this issue, where the capital requirements of permanent TSB are now €4 billion. We had the head of that bank tell us 2 years ago that all the loans, only about 1% of the loans would be bad loans. And the reality is, the fact is that permanent TSB didn't get involved in the speculative development lending. They were more conservative than that there. They dealt with mortgages, but they went mad at the end of the property boom, and they increased their loan book by twofold in the last 3 years. So we have a huge amount of people who took out mortgages at the height of the boom, and those mortgages now are distressed. So what you've announced, Minister, today is, yes, we'll give permanent TSB their $4 billion, they'll plug the hole. But what about the mortgage holders? What about the people who cannot make those repayments? We already know that the figures as of last year was that there was it 44,500?
Thank you, Deputy. You're over your time.
And I'll finish on this point. 44,500 mortgages in 90 days arrears. We have the figures now for one half of the problem, the bank's problem, but now we need to come up with solutions for the mortgage holders' problems. Because people who had 2 incomes, who were getting 2 incomes, 2 paychecks every Thursday, are now relying on social welfare payments. People who bought property at the height of the boom have to make a decision to put food on the table or to pay mortgages, and they're deciding to do the former, and rightly so. So we need to look at a scheme which deals with debt forgiveness and which deals with non-recourse mortgages, but we need to look at a scheme that bails them out as well. Minister, this is the wrong track that you're going down. And I appeal to you, and my final comment, to change direction, and particularly for the Labour Party, to use your influence. Go back to what you said you believed. For God's sake, pumping more money into defunct banks does not make sense, and you are about to sink the Irish state, and you will be guilty of reckless trading.